Dear Twin Flame souls out there, welcome to the Twin Flame Awakening Journey podcast, and today is in episode 163. Merry Christmas, my beautiful Twin Flame souls and all the empaths, all the beautiful souls who are seeking the way back to their essence. I hope you're having a beautiful, peaceful, loving Christmas, where you have a moment to take a deep breath in, connect, feel the presence of the divine, maybe to meditate, maybe to eat mindfully, maybe to send a mindful message to someone. So I hope you're having a beautiful time. Today's episode is about a little bit of how we can see the twin flame journey a little bit from a different perspective. But also I want to say a huge thank you for every one of you who have been supporting this channel on Patreon. I was contemplating for a very long time, should I post, should I share about it, about the Patreon membership, that those who have been supporting, what has happened to the support, what is there, what has been the extension of yours. So in today's Patreon post, which is free and you can find the link below, you can read about it, that every time you have showed up for the workshop, you have been paying your membership, that there is some magic that has happened. And at the end of the podcast, I will explain you also why this tradition came into me and what is there. I never normally want to talk about these kind of things, and that's now it's been, I think, the third Christmas, because it's not about being a good person or this and that. But this year there was many times where people were just saying, I don't listen to your podcast as much anymore, or I don't do this and that, or I don't come to the workshops, but I still want to support you in some reasons. And then I felt it was like their soul knows why they have to support this channel. And so I hope this podcast has helped you to realize and helped you to become a higher self. And through your light and through your presence, a lot more has felt it over the years. But we're going to get this into the end of the podcast. The only thing is, I'm going to say, for those of you who doesn't have a beautiful or feel alone at this Christmas time, because 3 years ago my Christmas was very, very painful. I was crying the whole time. I was like a ghost walking around, and I know it can be hard time. For that, there is an absolutely free event, mini retreat, 4 hours, on your own home, online, via Zoom. You can join anytime, any place. It's 4 hours. Please look at the time on the, it's 2 p.m. Paris time. I believe it's 8 a.m. New York time, but it lasts for 4 hours, so you can join anytime you wish. We will be doing the mood board. We will be doing all of these kind of things. So you can join anytime you wish. But that's for the intro. I'm not going to keep it so long. I want to dive into again of a bit of a like your twin is you, but living a different human experience. And today in this game, I'm going to give you a little overview of what you can do that maybe helps you to see this journey a little bit from a different perspective. We know that when we meet our twin flame, the connection simply doesn't make sense to your mind. It doesn't make sense. And I know that we try to make sense of it with the mind, including myself. I try to find all of the answers, all of the signs, all of the ways that exhaust me more than understanding, oh, wait a minute. I'm not making this up. I have no reason of having this experience and why I keep on running in circles over and over and over again. And I'm now a believer that this connection, what we have with your twin flames, are never meant to be understood through logic, timing, but more about the deeper recognition that something you remember when you meet this person. Even if you have only see them 1 minute or online or whatever, even if your lives at this moment don't align at all, let's say They can be a famous person in certain ways, or they can be a person that is a total opposite of yours. And even if everything about this connection seems very impossible, irrational, and completely out of a context, you would just sit there and think, what is this thing that's going on with me? Why I can't break through that? And what if your twin flame is not someone you are meant to chase, wait for? That comes down to when I often hear when people say, because now we have a bit of this mainstream about, we start going from, okay, soulmates are not good enough, now we all need a twin flames, because look, twin flames are a bit of a more magical than soulmates. And we tend to mix them up. Believe me, soulmate love is also deep, passionate, and loving, very caring. But twin flame comes to your life to awaken you for a reason. I even see that sometimes on twin flame pages, where twin flames, so-called coaches, or however we want to call them, are posting out there of saying, oh, soulmate love is nothing until you have felt twin flame love. And that makes us to believe, I want to meet my twin flame. I tell you, my dear, if you are truly on this journey, the last thing you want to go through is meeting your twin flame. And I believe those of you who are listening to it right now know exactly what I'm talking about it. Because twin flame journey comes with an extreme ego death, with an extreme awakening, the kundalini, all of this will be included there. But also, when you have a heartbreak from it, let's say you had a soulmate and it broke apart, that doesn't mean less of a pain. And I believe, now I'm a true believer, that we need to heal these wounds and go into that and just liberate and transmute them. But we shouldn't get into the place with our mind that I want to have a twin flame. I'm telling you, to the next episode, I will bring in some, again, the ways you would really know that you're a twin flame. But again, it's a label. What matters is what you felt. And that's why I say it's not something you're waiting for, you're chasing for, you're trying to figure it out, but it's actually you. The same essence, the same source, but you are living a completely different human experience through another avatar. So you are the same, and you are a different avatar. You have a different name, you have different identity, you have different problems, you have different choices, you have different fears, you have different conditioning. You're not the same. But you are same from the source. So let's bring in, it's a little bit, maybe not exactly accurate, there are other levels, but just imagine yourself. Because this is a very similar to the twins in the womb. You know, twins, we have twins in the womb. And it made me to think of another day when we're questioning about the twin flame journey. Because twins, we have twins. And maybe long back ago, when the first set of twins were born or things like that, it was also like, what is this thing? This is a madness. How come? And we know that, unfortunately, during the World War II, there were lots of experiments made on twins because it was a very strange phenomenon how there are a set of twins. And that's why I no longer also question that it can be the same on a spiritual path, that there is a frequency of an essence that is so powerful that it splits into two. And that's why when you meet, you have this enormous love and the soul shock because you meet yourself. And it's like that missing piece, you all of a sudden, boom, that's me. So as I said, it's similar to the twins in the womb. You're coming from the same source, from the same portal, the same energetic origin, sharing the same beginning. And at the same time, they are born. Even if they look very similar and they carry the same DNA, they will still experience life in a very different ways. No twins, at least, or of course I'm not twin, but I know I have twin listeners. You can also leave a comment. But as much as I've spoken to twins and met them, they're not the same person. Yes, they look the same. They might have the same way of doing certain things, but they're not the same person. They still experience life in a very different ways. Different moments in their life, different wounds, different awakenings, different timing. And no one actually questions that they are twins just because their lives have unfolded differently. And it's the same thing over here. That when we meet so-called your twin flame, we question it so much instead of thinking, wait a minute, I felt that. I felt what happened in my body. That wasn't logical, and I still cannot logically make sense of it. And when you meet your twin flame, there's often a very deep soul shock. You feel like something happened. But I'm going to say it might not happen on the first time, might not happen on the second time. It happens when you are ready to proceed this through your body. And there is a very, very big part of it. I'm going to be very honest. I had no idea, even though, yes, I did wrote in my journal. It's written their date. I think it was 13th of April or something. I have to find this journal. I can't. Thank you, God, that I have met my twin flame. My life is so beautiful and such a blessing. I have no conscious awareness of written that. And that's written in a random page over there. But since I always have journals with me, I have journals where I journal about my journey. I have journals where I write all my job tasks. I'm this person who writes everything in the morning and then starts to tick them off. And there are also notes because all of a sudden I'm receiving my channeling journal. So my house is full of journals. And I remember later on when I was going through my work things and I saw this and I said, what a minute, why twin flame? How did I know that? But at the same time, during the time when was this so-called honeymoon bubble phase, I had no clue about twin flames. I did not look into the twin flame information until the separation happens. So the soul shock is not immediate but you feel that something changed. And that hits you beneath the personality, the story you have, anything that makes sense, because all of a sudden nothing makes sense in your life. And this is why the twin flame journey often feels so confusing to the mind. Why? Also, there can be a significant age gap. Often. The most common one, what I have seen, is about, let's say, 7 to 13 years. That's one of the most common one, what I have seen, that there is this type of energetic. Then there can also be a different culture background, different religion, because all of these things are actually to separate us. Sometimes it can be that I've heard stories and I always praise myself and I say, thank God that mine at least was man. Because if that would have been a woman for me, and I know there are completely people who are in the sense of married with their husbands, all of these things, and all of a sudden they fall in love with a woman and they have the twin flame as a woman. I can imagine how hard can this be. Because the soul doesn't so much care about which avatar it's going to take. It just needs to take a form and experience life. And sometimes you have very different lifestyles. Sometimes it's just a moment. You just meet for a millisecond. And from there on, everything changes. And you start to wonder, why did I meet this person? Why this is now happening? And why do I feel that something inside of me has permanently activated and I cannot change this anymore? Why something inside of me has shifted and changed and I'm no longer the same person? I'm really going to say the moment you meet your twin flame, you're never going to be the same person. So now we try to understand this journey. We try to understand why they run, why they are not coming back, why they are not contacting. But here is something I also was thinking another day when coming to this twins journey, that nobody's questioning that twins are twins. You look at them and you see it. But energetically it can be the exact same thing. But also there is this longing part of us. And I know that there are a couple of stories where people who have been, let's say, from the foster homes, or they had a brother or a sister, or they had a twin as well when they were in the womb, but one twin didn't make it. They have always this longing that there is something out there. They always are looking for that missing piece somehow. And on Twin Flame Journey, it's somehow the same way. But now when I call it as a missing piece, it does not mean in a certain ways that it's a perfect romantic couple, like the perfect romantic relationship for you. It totally can be. But you just know that there is something deeper about you. There is something that will help you to remind who you are and your truth. Because that's one of a very, very important part of this journey, to speak your truth and be your authentic version of yourself. And I know that when I was looking back at my journey, I started to realize how many decisions I actually made in my life and how many times life was guiding me to finally, so-called, have that encounter with my twin. Because the place where I met my twin, I was never supposed to be there. The job what I was doing for that time, I was never supposed to be there. There were so many things that if you think of me, I was never about to be there. But life squeezed me to the place where I had to be. And I often, people ask me how, and we start asking these questions. We try to figure it out because our mind is it's an endless game to our mind to find answers. I tell you that. And today, this episode, I'm going to invite you to see that from a very different perspective that maybe helps you to come to the union, come to the alignment, come to the understanding. But because I could very easily, and this is another thing why I do what I do, because I could very easily get your twin back to your life. There is a very simple human ways of doing it. One of them is pick up your phone today and text them. Find them where they are. Talk to them. It's very easy. But will that be from the alignment? I don't know. And I know that as long as our mind tries to find the answers, the more we are in a so-called separation. And that's okay too. Again, don't blame yourself. I remember that, and I've often said that my belief system is that, yes, twins, so-called, love each other from the very deep layer pattern. From the very deep there is something very deep that I cannot explain. I don't have a words. But this belief of mine is because of that happened to me. Me and my twin, we both said at the same time what was going on with us, what happened to us, what we felt, what kind of love we felt, and how it destroyed us. Don't get me wrong, many of you might be thinking that I went through a lot of things, me as a person right now here. So did my twin. It absolutely broke him. But it's just very interesting. I was looking myself in the journals back. Even though my twin said to me everything, how he felt, what happened when we met, that how for him I am one of the most phenomenal person he has ever met in his life, and he still cannot grasp up his mind in certain ways what was the thing. And yet when he was telling to me these things, I was still looking for answers. I was still looking for the universe, the sign to tell me, was that real? Because I was somewhere not speaking my truth, not living from my alignment, constantly trying to understand. And now many can say, because I know that our mind thinks, if my twin returns back to my life right now, right here, and will tell me, I love you, you are the most beautiful person in my life, you have changed my life. When I met you, I felt something so significant than I have ever felt before. Let's say they come and tell you this. If you are not in alignment and inner union with yourself, believe me, these words will last exactly a day or a month or 2 days or 2 weeks. Because you need to feel and embody this within you. You need to know the truth within you. And the less you are looking from the outside, the more connected to you are for yourself. And it's a very hard truth, because it was the same for me. My twin told me constantly, and I was looking for the assurance constantly, because I was not in embodiment. And that's why today what I do and why I do is from the fact that I realized, until we do not balance our nervous system, until we do not surrender fully into this, and surrendering surrendering doesn't mean that you don't think of your twin. That's not surrendering. Surrendering is something completely different. Surrendering is when you trust that the universe is playing out the best possible outcome for you, and you are living it from right now, right here. Not thinking what's going to happen, how I'm going to get the message, how I'm going to get the sign, what's going to come next. That's not surrendering. And surrendering is not thinking, I will not think of them anymore. That means you're trying to control from your mind. And surrendering, the same way like twin flame journey, cannot be explained from the mind. It has to be felt from the body. And so why I talk about this is, we are in a belief system that if your twin returns and tells to you how they feel, but then they would say, but I'm going to choose a different life, or I'm going to choose different decision, then you meet yourself again in a place of saying, look, they don't want me, they abandon me, they reject me, they're this and that. But I want you to pause here for a moment, and you need to step by step understand. Your twin flame came to awaken you. Can you have a relationship with your twin? Yes, but not from the place of controlling the outcome. This year, so many people who were doing the activations, workshops, met me here in Cyprus, traveled with me to Costa Rica, and they booked the calls with me to come and tell me how their life has changed and how they now understand what I mean about it, that you have more in place. Stop controlling it. The more we are looking for the way it's supposed to be, and the more we are idolizing it, the idea, this is very, very dangerous, that twin flames are the ultimate truth, love, and nothing can compare that, you're going to find yourself in a very, very dark place. Because there is no such a thing that something is better and something is worse, and something is this. It's all about an experience. And twin flame experience is a very profound experience. But it's not meant to keep you stuck, and that's what I spoke about on my last episode. And here, I'm just going to summarize it very quickly. You will not figure this journey out from the mind. You will not. You can ask millions of questions from me. You can ask why they are not coming to me, why they don't love me. And again, here is a very, very different thing when I would say, I don't believe that they don't love you. But that's my belief system. Why? Because my twin admitted everything for me. Me and my twin love each other. Now you would ask me, but why you're not with your twin if you love each other? And because, again, our mind believes that love has to be shared with this person, then it's the only love. Even if the love can be, and that's another very hard thing to hear, that sometimes we love a person that is so broken, but we love them. We love them regardless, but they are so broken and they hurt you. I'm not saying that this is my twin flame, that's not. But I'm just bringing to you in that sometimes we love people more in that moment, and we think we can suffer. We can wait for everything. We can put ourselves second because I love this person so much. But that's not love. And same comes down to me and my twin, for example, that in the real life, we will just simply not work as a couple or things at this moment. It can change. I'm not going to say that. And I don't know what's going to come. I really don't know. But the more we are in the place of, and I see this even sometimes on Twin Flame Journey, that we accept the person in the worst possible condition. And we say, yes, but it's my twin. I must love them like this. Yes, of course you love them. But are you putting yourself completely out of alignment? You stop speaking your truth. Your nervous system is on the edge. And you're just, but I have my twin. I'm happy here. Because if I don't, I will not be happy. This is not the way, and you remember your twin flame came to awaken you to become your higher self. Although I just need to mention here that it's very rare when I have met some sort of a twin flame connection that is toxic or mean or rude or out of it. There is so much love and there is so much support and there is so much understanding. It's just, again, the life experience, what we're going to choose, and now we're going back to the real life twins, is not always exactly the same you would expect or you would have. And that brings me to the game I said to you, and just think of it today. Just have a moment. So instead of trying to understand this journey right now and analyzing your person, have this kind of a game now for your mind that you, just for a moment, you imagine that you are your twin. Not emotionally, but just as a human form, you would think of yourself. You close your eyes, everything you know about your twin today. Meaning that you are going to live their life with their nervous system, their history, unhealed wounds, the way they cope in the life, let's say their fears around intimacy, their timing that is written there, maybe their level of awareness, and all of the choices that they have made in their life are now your choices. So really try to just close your eyes. And all of the things that they haven't changed yet are the things you haven't changed yet in your life. And all of the things that they are not ready to see are the things you were not ready to see once too. So just close your eyes for when you're listening to it and think for a moment. When I first arrived to this journey or before this journey, what were the things I was afraid of? But try to put yourself into the as much as you know about your twin. Maybe they have a very strong religious background, that they stick to their religion and they believe that this is the way is to be a good person. However, and if I change that mindset, I might not be the good person, because if I speak my truth, I might go against the belief system I had. Maybe the beliefs that we have had, and I'm just going to tell you, our beliefs are shaped what we read, what we watch, what we consume. And you have to be very careful what you receive, what you're watching from the news, what you're watching from the TV, the documentaries, on social media, because someone is shaping for you that. And that's one of the reasons of my podcast. Many times I've been thinking, why I should do this? What is the point? But then my soul very quickly comes to me and says, because people need to find their own truth. Not exactly what I say, but open that door through the heart to the space of love, that they would see their own truth. So now go into the place of you are your twin. And pause and ask yourself for a moment, without any judgment, without any answer you are trying to figure it out, How long did it take to you to heal certain patterns in your own life? How many times or how long did it take for you to choose differently in life? How many times did you repeat the same behavior before something finally shifted in you? That comes back to this story of many of you can say, yes, I am meditating. Yes, I am doing your workshops. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but nothing is happening. But then, after let's say a half a year later, the click goes inside. So think about it. You had to practice half a year to have that click because the ego was so strong and so resistant in there. So how many times did you repeat the same behavior over and over? Think of it. And how many times or how many moments maybe were there when love was present, love was in front of you, but you were simply not ready to receive it or embody it? That the love was right, and that's what I spoke about it before. My twin could tell me, yes, I love you. Yes, I felt this way with you. I felt the electricity. I felt this. I felt that. This has always happened. And I could not see this. I couldn't embody it. And that's why I said about it, no matter how much you'll do it from the mind, until you do not reset the nervous system, until you do not change the frequency, nothing will change. You can agree, disagree. I've seen this over and over again within myself. And as you now sit with this, you sit with these questions you just got into your heart. Notice what starts to happen in your body. When you stop seeing your twin as someone who is holding something from you, but you start to seeing them as another expression of the same source and having their own human process or human experience at a different pace, in a different form. Because very often on this twin flame journey, the deepest pain of the twin flame journey is not the separation itself, but the waiting. And that's what I spoke about on the last episode. It's not the separation, it's the waiting. This unconscious belief that if this person were in your life in a certain way, then you would finally feel love, happiness, clarity, and completion. And I'm sorry to say, but this is where the illusion lives. You can agree or disagree. You can say you are absolute nonsense what you're talking about it, because you are not, let's say, you are not living with your twin, or you're not in this and that. I know. Then I would just say, if you know, try to do it different. Just try to experience it for a moment different and see what happens. Maybe there is some truth what I'm talking. Because in reality, what you are longing for through them is not outside of you, and it never has been outside of you, never ever has been outside of you. And the reason this connection hurts so much is because it's pointing you back to yourself, to the parts of you that are ready to be integrated, healed, and lived now. Now, right now. Why do I recommend to read The Power of Now? Why do I? And you know, it's something I make fun with my mother often. My mother is very good at reading everything. And she can say to you, oh, you know, life is meant to be right now, right here, or this and that. And then I look at her and I go, you're very good at saying all of these things, but how is the practice and embodiment going on? And then she laughs at me and says, yeah, I'm good at theory, but not so good at integration. That's the same thing. We all can be good at theory. We all can read millions of books, but until we don't embody them, it's pointless. So now I want to ask you, in a certain ways, very gently, very honestly, no judgment, no something. If your twin is you living a different human experience, what part of yourself you are still waiting for permission to embody? What truth inside of you you are still postponing? What you're holding back inside of you to say? What kind of choices you are still delaying in your life? And what kind of aspect of love are you still expecting them to activate inside of you? Instead of allowing it to move through your own body right now, right here. Because the inner union does not happen when the avatar changes their behavior, their choices, or their level of awareness. But when you stop yourself waiting and you start to live from the wholeness that the connection came to remind you from the very beginning. And the closer you move towards that internal coherence, the understanding, the internal heart coherence, Joe Dispenza speaks a lot about that, the less the journey needs to create pain in order to guide you, and I always say to you, the more, and that's another thing when often people might be confused about my journey, that how can I have a twin, and then I have a husband, and I have a family, then I have this, that, how is that possible? And I tell you something very simple over here. The moment you try to deny that you are on twin flame journey, or you try to push away that so-called twin flame, you're gonna feel the pain that is literally going to break your heart apart. And I know I did that, and that's one of the reasons I do what I do. Why? Because the moment you try to push them away, your soul goes into the shock with your body and asking why. You are feeling the divine love that you have never felt before. You are speaking the truth from your heart now. You are you, authentically you, and you try to break this apart now? Why? And that's how our mind tries to always do everything, that I need to push away. I push away. I will not feel this. I don't love my twin. And then your soul says, but you do. You do. So why are you saying you don't? And the more you're doing this, the more you are in pain. Again, lesson learned from myself, not from anywhere else. Lesson learned from my own self. And that's the reason I do it. I say, don't do what I did. Don't fall into that. Become one with it. Because this shift will bring you closer to the inner union. Because finally the mind relaxes, and when it no longer has to solve, to fix to the others, your nervous system starts to soften. And when you're no longer chasing for the completion, and I'm going to tell you the completion of the union, reunion, what I overhear, when they come back, when they come back, when they come back, and I know that. I could only Google non-stop, when am I going to hear from my twin? But when you no longer need to have the answer for the completion, and this is a very tricky part, I'm going to tell you one thing that is very, very tricky here. When you no longer look for it, the heart will open. When love is no longer conditional or an external outcome, it will be inside of you. But I want to talk about something that is very, very important, is that on this journey I often hear as well, is when we would go into this thing, and I know, and that's why I have said, I don't sell you anything. I am not here to tell you, come to my healing, come to my retreats. I'm doing this from the heart. Because I know how much they changed me and how much they opened up for me the world. But I know that sometimes we have that feeling that, but if I do this, then they come back to my life. And that's a very, very slippery road. Because when you would do something that you are going to have this, that I will do my healing, and then they come back, and I'm going to explain you why this is dangerous. And this is such an important part. Because we're here, many of us unconsciously loop the journey back into suffering. Because the moment we turn our inner work into a strategy to get the person, we are no longer in a union. And I've always said, don't do the activations, or don't do the kriyas, or don't do any of these things because you will think that's how I will get my twin flame back to my life. Because this is being in control. You're back in a waiting. And the nervous system, your own nervous system feels, even if the mind is trying to have it that I know spiritually, I am so connected, I know I am all there. Because when you do healings, meditation, rituals, manifestations, or any kind of energetic work from the place of then my twin returns, what you're actually doing is not devotion to truth, it's an attempt to control an outcome. And that's the reason it's so painful, because control is a signal to the body that you are not safe in the present moment. And you do not trust the life. And that you believe love can only exist if something outside of you will change. And this is super, super dangerous. And that's another reason I do what I do. I know how much it's going to change your life, because I always say Kundalini, like Jugu Gura told us, Kundalini puts you in a path. And I know that when you are starting to trust the life, the way it's going to unfold, and now I have seen this, the people who've been on the retreats, who have really gone deep inside of you themselves, people who have done the workshops, they call me, they write to me and they say, you were right. You were right that the life is actually unfolding much better. How do I know that? Because I went through that. That's why I'm so grateful that when my soul was so persistent of telling to me, you need to go away, you need to go to this country. I had no idea why I have to go to the country that I had never been for. I don't speak the language. I know nothing what is there. And I have to go with my whole family, take 5 suitcases and leave all my life behind. Does that make sense? No. And I'm going to tell you, the journey will not make sense to you. The choices, the people, things that will start to happen on this, nothing will make sense. But deep down, every little thing will make sense. So the moment you stop letting go of the control and you say, I am ready to go within. It's so beautiful that this week, the Christmas week, or prior to this, all of the calls were so much in alignment and so beautiful. All of a sudden, the journey has changed in that sense that they are not chasing for that 3D person to return, and so much magic starts to come. And when they come to the session, the cards, the energy, the channeling, what I'm giving to them aligns with their energy. That's why I say your energy is not going to stay the same if you put on a work. I have this one beautiful soul who was doing every morning the Kundalini yoga with me, because I introduced that, and like I say, I share everything I have because it changed my life. I'm not here thinking on my own of thinking, I know how to live in magic, but I'm not going to give it to anybody else because I want to be the supreme. I see it completely differently. I see the more you are becoming your alignment, the more magic starts to happen. And with her was the same, that even when Lily was born, she and another person who is also part of our group, my soul brother, they were the first people who came to know actually that Lily was born, apart from not even my family. Just to say, because we were practicing Kundalini yoga together. And now she came on a call and her perception of the journey has changed. And it's so beautiful, the card, like everything. And not only her, there were so many souls who came. But why? Because they practiced and they went deep within. Did they cry? Of course they cried. Did they feel lost? Of course they did. They were confused? Absolutely. But that just shows of shift and change. Sometimes I'm thinking that, it would be so easy somehow for me to just keep, let's say, I don't even think of it, but Sometimes I have this inner battle when I see some of the things that my soul disagrees with. So it would be so easy to keep people on a loop over and over again. Say, yes, your divine masculine is coming. Yes, they're there. They love you. They love you. They love you. Now they're coming. You just need to do, I don't know, buy this or pay this or do that. I don't know. I don't even know how to put this into the words. If I'm going to be totally honest, I'm not going to waste my time on this, but I cannot. I just know that if you go in within you, so much going to change and shift that you would be so thankful for your twin and for this journey and also the choices and decisions your twin has made. It's not a punishment. But right now it can feel like, and I'm not going to say you shouldn't feel this way. And I'm coming back to this, when we are doing this from the control, your nervous system simply cannot relax on it inside of this frequency because it's oriented in towards the future and it's looking for the proof and it is trying to make sense with the reality and it's still trying to manage the uncertainty by forcing a timeline, which means that even while you meditate, a part of you is still looking for the results. And when you meditate and you're looking for the results, you are not actually resting. You are performing. You are trying to earn a feeling, and that will keep you energetically into a disappointment. Because the mind will immediately create a contract without telling you something like, if I do this healing, then they will message me. Or if I release this block, then they will come back to me. Or if I raise my frequency, they will choose me. And even if you never say it out loud, your system knows that. And that's also very important. I'm not here to say that you're doing something wrong. It's so important to be honest within ourselves, because when we are honest within ourselves, we have a way to shift and change. And that's where this whole thing will collapse, when you build on in that way. So the real invitation, if you're thinking, I want to make a difference in the upcoming year, I'm ready to see it. Again, I'm going to say, these things, I'm not saying that you can't be with your twin. Absolutely you can be. I have so many examples. That doesn't mean you can't be in love. All of this, none of this. I'm not saying none of this, but why I talk about you, because even if today you had a chance to imagine your twin of the choices and things they have made, then just reflect it back to you. Where did you stop yourself? So the idea of if you do your healings, your meditations, your inner work, it has to come from a completely different place. You can say these kind of sentences. Right now I just bring some examples, but you listen to yourself. I'm choosing truth because truth is truth. I'm choosing my embodiment because it's my life. Or I'm choosing to love because I refuse to abandon myself. And if the other avatar returns, it is not a reward in your life. It's not the proof. It is not the point. It's simply one possible reflection of the coherence that you have anchored inside of you. Because the moment also when you stop using spirituality as a tool to control love, spirituality becomes what it was always meant to be. A return to the real, return to the truth. And from that place, you stop being disappointed because you don't have anything to be disappointed. Actually, you will be surprised every single time. You stop demanding specific outcomes to justify that your inner work is working and now I know who I am. And you finally actually become free. And the paradox of this, the twin flame journey and in this life, we have a lot of paradoxes. This is the only place where anything can shift naturally, because when you release the grip, the field changes. And not because you forced it to change. Because you are no longer sending signals back to it, and signals from the lack. But the key is this: you don't do it for the shift, you do it for the truth. You do it because you are ready to stop waiting and start living. And that's what I spoke about last episode. So, I hope you had a bit of a reflection from today listening to this, and maybe it took a little bit of a pain away. And now I have a bit of an extra story to share with those of you who've been supporting. And again, if you would ask me, why do I do this and what is the reason, I don't have the answer. But I want to tell you that story just from the fact that so many of you have been supporting this channel on Patreon and showing up. Sometimes we have on a day workshop over 100 people showing up. And I always say, if 100 people show up, they must be feeling then something. They must see that something is changing inside of them. Because why to show up if they feel nothing? Or maybe it's the belief that maybe something will change in the future. But they show up and then they start to see the results. That, wow, how I was thinking before and how I was seeing the world before. And that's why today's exercise is very powerful. Don't expect your twin to see it today the way you already see it. But they might do it, and they might understand this so much later. But that's okay too, if you are not in a state of waiting. But I want to tell a story, how this podcast all began, and the Patreon itself. Don't even know where to start with that. I remember in the first year when we began with the Patreon from the podcast, because many people wanted to connect and they had stories to tell. And we had on the very first year the same price. It was still the same. I have never changed it from there on, even though I would say it has very much changed because now the value is somehow higher. But I believe that everyone has to have an access to it. And on the first year, when I came here in Cyprus, and the place where we're living right now, in the gas station. Here in Cyprus, there are people who fill your gas. And there was this African lady, I'm not going to say which country from Africa she was from, who she is from. And in the very first day when I saw her, I just felt her. I had no idea who she is. And immediately she smiled on us, and I was just on the stage with her right here. But I was just in a bit of confusion, why I have to be here, what is the reason, and I had no idea. And she walked up to me, and she went like, wow, hello, how are you? She was so nice, she was so kind. And it was the end of November by that time. It was cold already. And we became connected immediately. I had no idea why. But at that time, I was still very much in a confusion state, so I had no idea. The next year, my soul forced me to start the podcast. A little bit later of that, I think in about April or May or something like this, I began with the Patreon membership. And I didn't withdraw the money from there because we had few members and I didn't know what to do with the money. As much as I paid my own room and all of these kind of things. So I just kept it. And a year later, the same year, a year later when I first met her, all the time we were speaking to each other. And I remember it was Christmas. It was very cold. And sometimes it can get cold. It was raining. And it was a Christmas Eve, and I know that myself, I was very much in pain. I was very, very much in pain. Because I was so lost. I didn't know who I am, what I am, but in that previous year. But then, so now I'm putting 2 years together. The first year when I met her, and then the year later. So the year later, I was not so much anymore in pain. But I remembered the previous year. And I passed by the gas station. It was the 24th. It was raining. And she was sitting there in the cold. It makes me very emotional, obviously, because she's a mother like me. But she had to escape. She told me a little bit briefly, but never a story from her heart that pity me, look at me, I can't be with my children. She was always so proud of her children. She said, yes, they are studying and I'm here, I'm helping them, and she maybe gets the minimum salary or something along the lines. But always positive, always. And I passed by and I was thinking, that's so unfair. That's so unfair that she's a mother like me. And she's sitting there every day in cold. She has no days off. She works from 8 to 8, I think. 12 hours outside. And she has her children somewhere who don't see her mother on this day. And she maintains every single day a smile. When I come to fill up my car with the gas, always says something beautiful to my children. And then, of course, my soul said that the money that every Patreon has given, give it to her. And I knew that, okay, I will withdraw the money and I go and give it to her. And it wasn't on that time, I can't remember exactly how much it was on that year. But then somehow I got busy with certain things, and there were some of the things over the Christmas and I didn't see her somehow. I didn't pass by from there. And then at New Year's, there were a couple of days into New Year, and I had the money in my car that when I see her, I will go and give it to her. And then one day I did see her. And she had no idea. She comes again with a big smile. Says, oh, hey, how are you? You know, I want to cook for you a nice spicy food. Always so positive. And I said to her, I don't know her name. I don't know anything much about her, but I felt connected to her. And why I feel connected to her, I don't have the answer until today. But the moment I gave her the money, I said, listen, I have a little Christmas gift for you. Her smile, her gratitude was so beyond. And I told her that, listen, take a few days off if you can. Take care of yourself, take care of your children. Just enjoy. And since then, the tradition actually has been continuing. Anything that is left over from the cost of operating the workshops and things like this, today on the Patreon you can read about it, where your light has reached. I will not bring in the previous years, but she's the reason. I will bring in this year that you would know that you've been part of a lot of beautiful things. So sorry to get so emotional, but somehow I sometimes feel that every journey is somehow unfair. And I don't know why the soul has chosen this way. I don't know why things are like that. I don't know. I don't have the answers. But I think if we are all connected and we do things from the heart, then we see more smile And she was just such an inspiration for me on that time, that she smiled despite the fact that she can't see her children on a Christmas day. So yes, anyways, thank you all for supporting this year, the Patreon. Thank you all for joining all of the workshops. Thank you all for the magic, for everything that you have brought into this journey. Thank you for your twin. Thank you for everything. I hope you have a lovely Christmas. And I hope you can continue to support. Because I have obviously some dear ideas in my heart. And wherever you are or whatever you do, what helps me to make them possible. So thank you for that. Anyways, didn't want to get so emotional, but somehow, like I said, I don't know why, but the moment I met her, she's deeply inside of me. And I think, and I don't know why. I have no answers, and that's why every one of you is the same for me. You are deeply in my heart. I don't know why, and I don't need to know. I just need to feel it, experience it with all of you. So like I said, you'll get to see it on a Patreon, even if it was 1 month or even if you never, and I know because not every one of you has a means to support, and that's okay too. I would never ever push anyone away because of you cannot afford at one time. That brings me at 27th of December, we have our workshop. So whoever wants to join, it's 4 hours. There are different things. We do it beginning of each hour. You're more than welcome to join. And then whoever needs to connect, whoever is ready to step into their new journey, please do so. And I just also want to say that I would have never somehow shared this because it's been already, I think, in that sense, 3 Christmas with me. But just because of so many of you said, I support you even if I can't show up, I felt it's beautiful because the light continues from here, and maybe it's wonderful to share. I don't do these things because of being a good person or a bad person or getting a reward. I do things in silence, and I prefer to do them in silence. But today I just felt that this is a Christmas gift for you as well, because you've been doing it, not only me. So thank you. Anyways, those who wish to connect, wish to come to the retreats, everything is on twinflameawakeningjourney.com. If you need a channeling, if you need an activation, if you just need to talk to someone who would understand, I'm here. So thank you for making our community beautiful. I wish you a very happy, Merry Christmas. Lots of love and lots of light.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep